I had a weird day yesterday in along these lines. I was thinking about it was reminded early in the day of a former boss of mine who I really loved and looked up to, and actually think about him often. And I haven't had too many bosses. Like even that term, former boss, might come as a surprise, right?
Yeah, sure.
But he was my boss at Citibank. Really good guy. Coached me, mentored me in certain ways, especially in the corporate world.
Yep.
And I always got along with him, and we stayed in touch after I had left Citibank, and then he wound up leaving and moving on to a different company. And then one day he got an aneurysm and passed away.
Oh,
and that hit me really hard. And this was a guy he had a fantastic career. His wife had a fantastic career. They had two young kids at the time, and one of the lessons I learned from him was to enjoy life. Like he didn't have enough life. I mean, he passed away like mid-40s. Like this was like,
wow.
Yeah,
that's brutal.
Yeah. And but he traveled when he could. He didn't just work and wait to do all of the things he wanted to do. Don't get me wrong. There were plenty of things still on his list that he wanted to do, right? But he fit some of those in. They traveled with the kids. They spent a lot of time with their kids. All of those things. And that made a big impact on me. But when he passed away, it hit me really hard. But the lesson I got from that was like, all right, well, don't wait, because you don't know. Like, you plan to live a good long time, right? And there's a lot of good reasons to do that.
Yes.
However, the flip side of that is you don't know what a good long time you have, right?
I lost just a great business partner. Guy was a mentor to me. He passed, he had a heart attack at 50. And when his wife called me, I said, "Oh, how's he doing? When is he going to get out of the hospital?" Thinking that, okay, I'll come out and see him. He'll recover. But her response was, "Oh, he's not coming out of the hospital." And so you're so right. We all work so hard all the time. We're trying to build things as entrepreneurs, businesses, everything else, but you have to enjoy it along the way, right? The journey it's huge.
And then last night I heard about another friend a musician, and also very successful in business and all these things, and recently retired. His whole thing, he had worked really hard, built his like perfect recording studio in his house that this is where he was, and is planning to spend his retirement. And I heard that, I don't know, sometime in the last couple of months, he developed some extremely rare hearing issue that it basically makes that, at least currently, impossible. And the prognosis, the outlook is questionable as to whether he can recover, from this. So he's still alive, obviously, but worked for decades to be able to do this thing. And he enjoyed the ride too. Don't get me wrong. But it's one of those things. It's like, man, if he had, pulled the ripcord on his career, 5 years sooner, 10 years sooner, he had plenty. And he was not the one that kept pushing his career alone. It was like the people that worked with him and all of that sort of pushed him and kept him there. And, he's just like, I just want to do this. And finally, he got out and then this.
Well, that's interesting.
Man, it sucks. It sucks.
Yeah.
And so that's what's been swimming in my head. I just like, as I was going to sleep last night, I'm like, man, like, it's not fair when something like that happens. But as we all know, life isn't fair. We don't get to do that. And so it really made me kind of, it's like, wow, it's interesting. I was thinking about Roy, my former boss, earlier in the day. It's like, like these two lessons, it's like, make sure you take some time, a little bit of time, like you said, along the way to lead that charmed life, right? It's not all about the work unless you can make your work part of that enjoyable path.
Yes.
Like that's the charmed life, I think.
Yeah, well, and as
part of it.
entrepreneurs,
Yeah.
as entrepreneurs, we have a unique opportunity to create that life that we want, that journey that we enjoy. And, I talk about it all the time. It's like when I'm looking back and explaining things to people that I've done, I'm just like, well, really, I was trying to have a good time. I was
That's
trying to
it.
enjoy myself. I was trying to learn as much as I could, trying new things, I love deals and buying and selling and all this kind of stuff and finding new suppliers and working with great people. And so that is what really guided me. There's this concept that the most entertaining outcome is what usually happens. And I've started to think that maybe that's the way we should try to guide our life. If we have the opportunity, and if you're listening to this show, and if you're a business owner, entrepreneur, or an aspiring, business owner, that's the opportunity that we have to try to do it and enjoy it along the way. Because you just don't know how long you're going to get. You don't know.
No, and you don't. You don't know. So, like you, my career has been informed by my desire to do things that I enjoy.
Yes.
I don't enjoy every bit of what I do. Don't get me
Of course,
wrong.
nobody does. Yeah.
Right. Well,
Yes.
I make it, sometimes I make it sound like I do, because the majority of it I actually do. But there's
Yes.
parts of it that suck. Don't get me wrong. But,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But it is, and I think that phrase "informed by" is probably the right one. Influenced by my desire to do things I enjoy.
Yes.
Yeah.
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 It's important to do.
Doesn't always work out that way.
No.
But that's going into new things or making decisions. It's like, well, wouldn't that be fun to do that? Let's see.
Yeah.
Is there a there? Let's tug on that thread a little bit.
Yeah, experimenting, trying to figure things out. We share our experiences here all the time about trying new things and, is this a viable business and what would it do for me? We talk about it on the show here that, I do this show because I learn a lot every time and I enjoy talking about business, and I enjoy the collaboration each week, which is very important, especially as you get to the point where maybe you don't have employees that you're working with anymore, like kind of where I am right now.
Yeah.
So it's great to have it to look forward to. And, it's funny talking about the journey and how much is enough and everything. I want to talk about on our Friday episode, this concept that I have been working out, kind of this overarching strategy of why I've done the things I've done, created the businesses that I have.
Oh.
And it's this, I'm looking forward to introducing this new concept with you about how much is enough.